Why are stories so important and how will they help you communicate your work? Well, stories add value in at least three ways. We understand stories, we're naturally drawn to them, and we're open to finding out what they have to say. We naturally connect to and become emotionally engaged with stories that we hear. And because of those things, stories make us care.
To learn how to better write, communicate, edit and design content, like this video, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell.
We hear facts and statistics. We perceive them, and we may mentally process them. But that may be all. We listen to stories, and by listening, rather than hearing, we pay attention, and we give thoughtful consideration to them. And crucially, we usually feel something when we do. Think about it. Are you more likely to remember that 67% of girls in the US play sports wearing trainers supplied by a single sportswear company? Or remember and be moved by hearing that just a few years ago, young women in the US couldn't play football? Not because they didn't want to, but because no shoe manufacturer made studded boots that fitted the shapes of girls' feet and in styles and colours that actually appeal to aspiring young female athletes. But one small sportswear company noticed, and they decided to create bespoke football boots for girls. They were so successful that now 500,000 young women in the US play football, leading to the creation of college and professional women's football leagues. While the company has grown into one of the country's largest and most popular sports brands. That was a fictional example, but it's one that serves to show how stories are far more compelling than facts alone. Stories can help you create better, more impactful factual content. Scientific research has repeatedly shown that stories are remembered more than facts. For example, Chip Heath, who was a professor of organizational behavior at Stanford Graduate School of Business in Stanford, California, in the US, gave students data on crime statistics in the US, and each was asked to give a talk on either why crime is a huge problem or why it is not. After a quick filler task, the students were then asked to write down what the other speakers had said. Only 10% of the speakers actually formed that data into stories. More conventionally, the rest relied on reporting the statistics. But the majority were wrong to take the statistical approach, because when the students were asked to recall what the others had said, 63% recalled the stories, and only 5% recalled any statistics. According to Jennifer Aker, Professor of Marketing at Stanford University's Graduate School of Business, stories are remembered up to 22 times more than facts alone. Now, I've just presented a list of facts and statistics to you, which you'll likely not remember in the weeks to come. But you should remember the story we are telling you. That content creators such as yourself, who rely purely on statistics, become forgotten. Whereas those who work to overcome the challenges of publishing factual content and embrace stories and narratives will be more successful. Stories are also persuasive. Studies have supported the hypothesis that facts presented in story form lead to greater changes in beliefs and liking, which in turn leads to changes in attitudes, intentions and behaviours. Virtually all of the studies control for content, some for example by comparing the impact of a series of sentences formed into a story with those that are not. Put more simply, if you tell a story, your audience will believe you more and like you and what you have to say more. That's because stories involve audiences. They draw people in. The audience becomes transported from their existing reality into the story or the narrative. And when that happens, research shows their attitudes and intentions actually change to reflect what they're hearing in the story. Research by Anna Lundqvist and colleagues at the Hanken School of Economics in Finland investigated how companies use stories to influence consumers about their brands. They took an existing brand and shared a story about it with one group of consumers, but not with another. And there was a remarkable difference in how the two groups responded. Consumers who were exposed to the story described the brand in much more positive terms and were willing to pay more for the product. So in the researchers' words, if a company has a good story to tell, it's worth telling it. Stories can also persuade people because they tend to inhibit our natural tendency to argue with people who tell us facts. Now, often we may only do this internally and not vocalise those critical thoughts, but stories have the power to distract us from being so critical about what we hear. And stories break down our suspicions. A wide variety of studies have confirmed that a story gets in the way of our natural tendency to confront and then counter facts. That means that your audience is less likely to try to contradict or refute anything you say if you tell it as a story. Put another way, if you're about to publish content or communicate a message that you know is going to be contentious, then if you tell it as a story, your audience will be far more receptive to what you have to say. Stories also attract attention. Stories are more likely to attract and hold the attention of audiences than just facts or information. Now, this is by design, as stories follow structures that grab audiences and lead them through a crafted narrative. Stories are also shared. Academic research by evolutionary psychologist Robin Dunbar has found that 65% of all human conversation in public places is about social topics. Essentially, they're conversations about people. Basically, that means 2/3 of our entire conversational lives is spent telling stories about people, to people. Stories fit this because they are generally based on characters that we emotionally care about. Consumers now routinely connect with each other on social media, where they share personal stories, and in doing so, they're influencing each other's behaviour, including where they go and what they purchase. Stories are therefore inherently shareable. In fact, the only reason stories exist is to be told. Storytelling now has become integral to the branding of any product, and it should become an integral part of all your factual content creation and communications.
All you have to do is like and subscribe to this channel to watch the full course of more than 90 videos for free, or visit Amazon to access the 450-page Factual Storytelling Handbook.